Hello again. Okay, so this is lesson 5, solving real world triangle problems. So basically, I've gone through all of the primary trig ratios for our 90-degree triangles. We've done the sine law and we've done the cosine law. For trigonometry and everything we're going to do for this course, that is it. 3 things, not too bad. I like it because it keeps it nice and simple. It's gonna be one of those 3 things, and if it's not, well, it's just not. So it's gonna be one of those 3 things. So when we go to solve any real world problems, there's a couple questions I want you to ask in order to decide: am I going to use the primary trig ratios? Am I going to use sine law? Or am I going to use cosine law? So the first question is, does it have a 90-degree angle? So that's really the first thing you should always be asking yourself. If the answer is yes, then you're going to use your primary trig ratios. It's usually the easiest to go to that. If the answer is no, then it's going to be either the sine law or cosine law. So then we'll look at it and decide which one of those are we going to do. So in order to figure out whether it's going to be sine law or cosine law, the next question you're going to ask is, does it have an angle and opposite side? So when you look at the triangle, did it give you the angle and the opposite side? Okay, so if it's got that in it, then you're going to say, yes, I'll use the sine law. If it doesn't have that, or you can't find that third angle to make that connection, then your last resort is the cosine law. And remember, those ones are really easy because you either have all 3 sides or you have 2 sides and the angle in between. So it's either one of those 2 cases. And in that case, you'll use the cosine law. So you kind of want to ask yourself those questions before you dig into it. Okay, so moving to the example, Max is designing a wooden plant stand with a triangular top. The side lengths of the triangle are 45, 60, and 70 centimeters. To make the triangle, Max needs to know the angle measures. So we've got a diagram here. Sometimes you're not going to get the diagram. So if you don't have the diagram, the first thing you're going to do, step 1, is always draw the diagram if you need to. Okay? It's really hard to do trigonometry without at least drawing a little bit of a diagram. So I'm going to write if needed. We don't need to in this example, it's already given to us. So step 2, I always label is my one thing that I like to do. So across from angle A is side A, this is side B, and this is side C. So always label. Step 3 is we're going to decide whether we're going to use the ratios or laws. Okay. It's not very apparent that we have a 90-degree angle in this one. So we're going to take out the primary trig ratios. I'm not going to use those. I'm not sure that I have a 90-degree angle, so we'll go right to the laws. So our choices are sine law or cosine law. From this one, I notice that I have all 3 sides, and as soon as I have all 3 sides, I know that I'm going to use the cosine law. So for this example, we're going to use the cosine law to start with. Okay, so let's set it up. We need to find an angle we need to also decide which angle it is that we're going to find. So I'm going to start with A just because I like to start at the beginning of the alphabet. So cos of A equals A squared minus B squared minus C squared minus 2, not that, BC. BC. We'll put our values in. 45 squared minus 60 squared minus 70 squared to 60, 70. And we will calculate that. So I get the top to be minus 6,475 and the bottom to be minus 8,400. So I'll divide that and I get 0.770833 and they repeats. So let's find out what A actually is by taking the inverse cos, and I get 39.57, so I'm going to round it up to 40 degrees. Okay, so he needs to know all the angle measures, so we now know that A is 40. So I'm going to put that on here. That's 40 degrees. Now that we've done the cosine law, we now can see, this is kind of the nice thing, we can switch it up, but we have an angle and an opposite side. So now if we wanted to, we could use the sine law. So I'm going to use the sine law to find the second angle, and I'm going to find angle B. So we'll set that up. Sine of B over B is 60 equals sine of A, which we know is 40, over 45. So I'll move this up 60 times sine 40 divided by 45. And we'll calculate this. So I get sine B 0.85705, and I'll take the inverse sine of that to get an angle of, it's 58.98, so I'll round it to 59. Now, if you've already got two angles, the third angle, super easy, because if we remember our angle properties, it's just 180 minus our 40 minus 59. And we get that C is 81 degrees. Super simple. You can have examples where you need to use different laws, and it's not like once I found the first angle, I could have used the cosine law to find the second angle. I actually really like the sine law, so I use the sine law to do it. It's really up to you. And then that third angle, don't forget about that property, because you could use the cosine law or the sine law again. I just used that property because it's a lot faster than all the calculations. So go try some more of the examples and the practice questions, so you get a good amount of different examples to try. And then I think there's a quiz for this lesson as well. You're also going to do your unit assignment and quiz to complete the unit. Have fun. Message me if you have any questions. Bye.